Hi everyone, welcome to our 12-part series, Inside the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. I'm Kenny Birch, a tax director in our mortgage banking tax practice. And throughout this series, we're breaking down the most important tax changes under OB3 and what they mean for you. These updates can have a real impact on planning, compliance, and your bottom line. So if you want to stay ahead and make informed decisions, you're in the right place. Let's take a look at the changes to information reporting thresholds and what that means for businesses starting in 2026 with Nichele Cooper, an expert in our mortgage banking tax practice. Okay, Nichele, big picture, can you tell us what information reporting is and the related thresholds?
Yeah, there are two main areas of code that lenders and all persons engaged in trade or business must review related to information reporting, Section 6041, subsection A, and 6041A. You can think of these code sections as they relate to Forms 1099 Miscellaneous or 1099 NEC. These sections refer to the minimum dollar amount required for a business, financial institution, or other entity to report a transaction or a payment to the applicable government agency such as the IRS. Once the minimum dollar amount has been met or surpassed, an information return must be filed.
Awesome. You mentioned a minimum dollar threshold. How has it changed under OB3?
OB3 did make some modifications to these rules. Currently, you are required to file an information return for payments totaling $600 or more made during a single calendar year for specified types of income, such as rent, salary, wages, and other fixed or determinable income, or for payments made totaling $600 or more made as consideration for services to persons other than employees. However, starting in calendar year 2026, the threshold has increased to $2,000 and will continue to increase for inflation in the following calendar years.
Understood. So last year in 2025, payers were only required to report transactions starting at $600. However, starting this year in 2026, that reporting requirement minimum increases to $2,000. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's also important to note that aside from single transactions, the minimum threshold does also apply to cumulative payments to a single recipient in a calendar year.
Okay, so the information reporting threshold looks at the total cumulative payments made to each recipient for the entire year. That's good to know. Now, if a recipient never meets the minimum threshold of $2,000, are they still required to report income as a taxpayer?
Yes, I am glad you brought that up because it is important to clarify that yes, even if the payer is not required to report transactions under that threshold, those cumulative payments under that $2,000 are still considered taxable income. It is still the responsibility of the recipient to report and include those payments in their total income on their own tax return.
Got it. The minimum threshold reporting on the payer side does not relieve the recipient from their reporting responsibilities. So earlier you mentioned that these payments exceeding the threshold must be reported on an information return by the payor. What returns should be filed to report these transactions?
Yeah, so the main IRS forms will generically be called 1099s. While there are several specific forms depending on the type of transaction, the two most common are the 1099 NEC, which is for non-employee compensation, such as freelancers or contractors, and the 1099 miscellaneous, which is used for rent, awards, prizes, attorney fees. This form works as more of a catch-all.
Thanks for providing that information. So 1099s are the required form, but ultimately it'll come down to the type of transaction. Before we wrap up, Nichele, why was this change included in OB3?
The threshold itself exists to help the IRS track taxable income and to establish consistency across different types of payments. However, I think the main reason the increased threshold was included in OB3 was in an effort to reduce the administrative burden for both the IRS and the payers of reporting very small payments. For lenders especially, though, they should note that these changes do not impact Form 1098 reporting related to interest.
Let's hope our clients feel that relief, Nichele. So to summarize, the information reporting threshold has increased from $600 to $2,000 starting in calendar year 2026. All single or cumulative payments to a single recipient that meet or exceed the threshold must be reported on a 1099 information return. And don't forget, even if you receive payments under the threshold as a recipient, it's still your responsibility to report that income on your own return. Thanks, Nichele. Really appreciate you breaking down the new reporting thresholds. There's plenty more to learn in our other videos, so please make sure to give those a watch.